Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Hope you are okay on that side of the screen. And today I've got with me something really interesting for your Raspberry Pi 4. This is the DeskPi Pro. And we are back. So there are some images that you already have seen, and if you are excited, so am I. And before we dive into the assembly and to test out a few things that I will share with you in just a few moments, if I had to resume and give my conclusion right now, I would say that this case has a lot of functionality, really cool. Now, I do love to have ports on the front and ports on the back, which is just great. It has dual full-size HDMI ports, which I also love. A great cooling system. It's possible to add NVMe, SSD or hard drive, 2.5 inch or M.2, depending on what we want, and expand our storage capability, which is just great. It has a really nice, cool looking design with brushed aluminium all around. Looks like a PC, a NUC, something like that. And it also has access to the GPIO, which is great. Now, in terms of the assembly, it's really easy, and if I went to do it right now, I would not use the manual, which is right over here. But by the way, the manual is really well designed or written and easy to follow. Now, I did follow the manual, but I do believe that if you buy one of these after watching this video, it's so simple that you won't need to read the manual. I did start by removing the screws and removing the front and back covers of the case. I then did screw two brackets to the cooler dissipator and then insert the SD card adapter, put some thermal paste on the Raspberry Pi, and then I screwed four copper pipes to screw the ice tower cooler, which, by the way, it's awesome. Looks really awesome, and it works great. After that, I did connect the GPIO connector to the Pi and then inserted the T-shaped conducted cotton between those USB ports. I did remove the four bottom screws for the case to remove the main logic port and then connect the 40p cables to the power control on the board. I also did connect the fan power cable, which will power the fan when necessary, and then at this point we will need to push the Pi against the main board, and here I would suggest some caution. Just align the USB-C port with the HDMI ports and so on, and then just push it, secure it, and that is it. And then finally connect that small SD card connector, which looks a little bit difficult, but it's not. It just goes naturally. After that, we will have to decide if we want to use M.2 SSD, 2.5 inch SSD or hard drive. And although we don't have to decide at that moment, in case we have already decided, then this is the way to go. Now we just need to insert the main board with the Pi on the case and just push it, and then secure it with some screws at the bottom. And then to use the hard drive, in case we do, we need to connect this USB dual connector right over here, which will make the SSD to boot instead of the micro SD card with the system, not only to boot. And that is it. We are ready to run, and we can use any operating system. At the moment, I'm using the DeskPi operating system, which you can download, or depending on a package that you get, and I will leave the link down below so that you guys can check it out. You can just get the enclosure. You can get the enclosure plus the Raspberry Pi plus the operating system and so on and so forth. So depending, and the DeskPi is a Raspbian with already the drivers necessary. Now, nonetheless, if you want to use any other operating system or the Raspbian that you already have with everything installed and so on and so forth, and you just want to add this case, then you will find the drivers and how easy it is to install on the DeskPi Pro webpage, and it's just a matter of installing and that is it. Now if we want to use the SSD or internal storage expansion, besides connecting the USB dual connector, we can boot from the hard drive or SSD, which in my opinion it's one of the great things. For example, those of you that use Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi, one of the complaints that we had for quite some time is that sometimes the system just breaks on an SD card. The same does not happen on any hard drive or SSD, so this is one of the great advantages. To do that, we just need to go to the tools and then select copy from SD cards to the whatever disk that we decided to use, and bam, that is it. Just reboot the machine or shut down the machine, remove the SD cards, and once we do that, it will boot from the SSD instead of the micro SD card. Just awesome. Now I did test out the temperatures because it's one of the targets of this case, and it's really hard to get hot temperatures right over here. As you can see by some images right over there, the maximum that I got on Stressberry was roughly 53 degrees, and honestly that's just the passive cooling acting, because this is a brushed aluminum enclosure. The cooler is just touching the enclosure, and then the cooler is touching the Raspberry Pi CPU, so it will act as a passive cooler, and if it needs, it will ramp up, but it will only ramp up at 55 degrees Celsius, which I did not manage to get on a stress test pushing the 4 cores to the maximum and so on and so forth, as you guys know how Stressberry works. So this is really cool. The active cooling is just awesome. It looks great, looks like a real PC cooler. They call it the Ice Tower, and it's really well designed. So I'm eager to make a way of pushing the temperatures higher than 55 so that I can see the fan spinning and so on and so forth, which is always nice. Now finally, I did test out one thing that we already have done in the past with dual HDMI, which is to use dual screens, but I wanted to make sure that all the connections were fine, and I was able to use dual displays with this machine at a full-size HDMI. And guys, basically this is it. If you are looking for a case to upgrade the functionality of your Raspberry Pi 4, this is a great contender in terms of cooling, in terms of the looks of it, in terms of build quality. Everything is brushed aluminum with the exception of the front and back cover, which is acrylic. A lot of connect, well, 2 USB ports plus the micro SD at the front and a safe power button right over here, and then at the back all the rest of the connectivity, including great 2 full-size HDMI connections right over here, the option to upgrade and use an SSD hard drive or M.2, and probably a few things that the GPIO connectivity right over here, probably a few things that I am forgetting. So if you're looking for a all-round case, this is a really great choice. Guys, this is it. Hopefully the video was helpful in some way, and if it was, don't forget the usual thumbs up right over there. My name is Roberto, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.